First story, by Emma Thompson. It was a crisp autumn afternoon when my friends and I decided to embark on a hiking trip in the dense forests of the Appalachians. We were a group of nature enthusiasts, seeking solace and adventure away from the hustle and bustle of our mundane lives. The golden hues of the falling leaves created a mesmerizing tapestry above us as we delved deeper into the heart of the woods. Our destination was a secluded cabin, rumored to be an abandoned hideaway from a bygone era. As night fell, we arrived at the cabin, nestled in the midst of towering trees that seemed to whisper secrets in the chilling breeze. The wooden structure bore the weight of time, its windows cracked, and the door hanging off its rusty hinges. As we settled in, the forest around us came alive with strange noises. Twigs snapped, leaves rustled, and distant howls echoed through the night. We dismissed it as the usual sounds of nature until a faint glow in the distance caught our attention. A group of shadowy figures, their faces obscured by the darkness, gathered around a flickering fire. Their eerie chants and erratic movements sent shivers down our spines. Curiosity gripped us, and against our better judgment, we decided to investigate. Silent as ghosts, we approached the gathering, hiding behind trees to avoid detection. The figures were engaged in a ritual that defied explanation, chanting in an unknown language, their movements synchronized with an otherworldly rhythm. Suddenly, one of them noticed us. The air thickened with tension as their gazes locked onto ours. Panic set in, and we stumbled backward, crashing through the underbrush. The pursuit began, with the forest itself seemingly conspiring against us. Branches clawed at our faces, roots tripped us, and the haunting sounds of pursuit echoed through the night. Lost and disoriented, we stumbled upon a clearing where a dilapidated graveyard lay hidden. Tombstones, weathered and worn, bore names of people long forgotten. As we caught our breath, the realization dawned upon us. This was no ordinary forest, and the cabin we sought refuge in was a gateway to something far more sinister. We pushed forward, driven by fear and the desperate need to escape the clutches of the mysterious group. The forest seemed to warp and contort, creating illusions that played tricks on our minds. Shadows danced at the periphery of our vision, and the oppressive darkness closed in around us. Exhausted and on the brink of despair, we stumbled upon an ancient altar, adorned with cryptic symbols. The air grew heavy with a malevolent force as the figures closed in, surrounding us. The forest itself seemed to pulse with an unholy energy, and we realized too late that we had trespassed into a realm where the line between the natural and the supernatural blurred. In a final act of desperation, we sprinted towards the cabin, the figures hot on our heels. As we burst through the creaking door, the forest fell silent, and the figures vanished into the shadows. We spent the night huddled in the darkness, haunted by the realization that the natural world harbors secrets beyond our understanding. The next morning, we emerged from the cabin, the forest now bathed in the soft light of dawn. The strange occurrences of the night before seemed like a distant nightmare, and the once menacing figures were nowhere to be found. We made our way back through the woods, shaken but alive, vowing never to speak of the surreal horrors that lurked within the heart of the forest. Little did we know, the echoes of that night would linger, a chilling reminder that even the most serene landscapes can hide the unimaginable. Second story, by James Morgan. In the heart of the Pacific Northwest, a group of friends, including myself, embarked on a hiking adventure through the dense and sprawling Olympic National Forest. The towering evergreens embraced us, their thick canopies blocking out the sunlight, creating an ambience of perpetual twilight. Our journey led us to the discovery of an old ranger's cabin, standing solitary amidst the towering trees. Its weathered exterior hinted at years of abandonment, and curiosity fueled our decision to make it our temporary haven for the night. Little did we know that the forest held secrets darker than the shadows that danced between the trees. As night descended, a subtle unease settled over our camp. Strange rustlings echoed through the woods, and occasional glimpses of fleeting shadows raised the hairs on the back of our necks. We brushed off the discomfort, attributing it to the inherent mysteries of the wilderness. But as the darkness deepened, so did our apprehension. The silence of the forest was shattered by a distant scream, a gut-wrenching cry that sent shivers down our spines. We exchanged nervous glances, our flashlights revealing faces pale with fear. Hesitant whispers floated through the air, debating whether to investigate or stay hidden within the confines of the cabin. Against our better judgment, we ventured into the night, guided only by the moonlight filtering through the dense canopy. The forest seemed to close in around us, the oppressive darkness pressing down with an almost physical weight. The source of the scream remained elusive, leaving us on edge as we stumbled over gnarled roots and moss-covered rocks. As we delved deeper into the woods, we stumbled upon a clearing bathed in an otherworldly glow. A group of figures, clad in tattered clothing, stood huddled around a makeshift altar adorned with flickering candles. The air thickened with an unspoken malevolence, and the rhythmic chanting of the figures sent a chill through our bones. Hidden behind the trees, we watched in horrified fascination as the group performed a ritual that defied rational explanation. Symbols etched in the ground glowed ominously, and the night air resonated with an otherworldly energy. It became clear that we had intruded upon something beyond our understanding, a convergence of the mystical and the macabre. A twig snapped beneath our feet, betraying our presence. The figures halted their ritual, turning their gaze toward us with eyes that seemed to pierce the darkness. Panic set in, and we bolted back towards the cabin, the haunting echoes of pursuit following us like malevolent whispers. Within the safety of the cabin, we huddled together, the walls barely muffling the ominous sounds outside. The night passed in agonizing suspense, the cabin seemingly shielding us from an impending doom that lingered just beyond its fragile walls. With the first light of dawn, we cautiously emerged from the cabin, finding the forest eerily silent. The altar, the figures, and the unnatural energy that had gripped the night had vanished without a trace. We retraced our steps through the forest, the once menacing trees now standing as silent sentinels to an experience we could hardly comprehend. The tale of that fateful night in the Olympic National Forest would forever be etched in our memories, a chilling reminder that some secrets are best left undisturbed in the shadowed corners of the natural world. Third story, by Anonymous. In the remote woodlands of the Bavarian Alps, my solo hiking expedition took an unexpected turn into a realm of fear and paranoia. The towering pines whispered tales of ancient mysteries, and the winding trails led me to a dilapidated cabin, its existence hidden from most maps. As night fell, the forest came alive with the haunting symphony of nocturnal creatures. However, beneath the surface of this natural serenity, an undercurrent of unease began to manifest. Strange noises echoed through the trees, resembling distant footsteps and muffled conversations that seemed almost human. Within the cabin, a disconcerting feeling settled over me, as if unseen eyes were watching my every move. Creaking floorboards and the occasional groans of the decaying structure added to the unsettling atmosphere. I hesitated, debating whether to brave the night within the shelter of the cabin or venture deeper into the woods. Curiosity overcame caution, and I found myself venturing into the darkness, guided only by the beam of my flashlight. The trees loomed like ancient guardians, their twisted branches casting eerie shadows that danced along the forest floor. It was then that I stumbled upon a clearing bathed in an unnatural glow. A group of hooded figures stood in a circle, their faces obscured by darkness, engaged in an unsettling ceremony. Candles flickered around them, casting an ethereal light upon symbols drawn on the forest floor. The air hummed with an unsettling energy, and the rhythmic chanting of the figures sent shivers down my spine. As I attempted to retreat unnoticed, a twig snapped beneath my boot, betraying my presence. The hooded figures turned towards me, their eyes gleaming with an otherworldly intensity. Panic surged through my veins, and I sprinted back towards the cabin, the haunting sounds of pursuit echoing through the night. Within the cabin's confines, I barricaded myself, the adrenaline-fueled heartbeat drowning out the mysterious noises outside. The night wore on, each creak of the cabin intensifying the feeling that an unseen threat lurked just beyond the walls. With the first light of dawn, I cautiously stepped outside, the forest now bathed in the soft hues of morning. The hooded figures and their mysterious ceremony were nowhere to be found. The woods, once alive with ominous whispers, now seemed like any other stretch of untamed wilderness. As I retraced my steps through the Bavarian Alps, the memories of that harrowing night lingered, a reminder that even the most serene landscapes can harbor secrets that defy explanation. The shadows cast by the ancient trees concealed mysteries that, once unveiled, could plunge the unsuspecting wanderer into a realm of terror beyond imagination. Fourth Story, by Elena Rodriguez. High in the rugged mountains of Colorado, an ambitious hiking trip with my college friends turned into a descent into the depths of fear. The towering pines surrounded us as we trudged along a path that seemed less traveled, leading us to a forgotten cabin nestled in the heart of the Rocky Mountains. As the sun dipped below the peaks, casting long shadows across the landscape, we reached the cabin. Its wooden facade, weathered and worn, hinted at decades of abandonment. The creaking door opened reluctantly, revealing a dimly lit interior that whispered tales of a bygone era. Night descended, and with it came a palpable tension. Strange noises permeated the air, the low hum of the wind through the trees, the rustling of unseen creatures, and a distant murmur that resembled hushed voices. Unease settled over our group like a heavy blanket, prompting uneasy glances and whispered speculations. Determined to unravel the mysteries of the forest, we decided to explore the surrounding woods under the soft glow of the moon. The crunch of leaves beneath our boots echoed through the silent night, and the towering pines seemed to lean in, their branches intertwining like ancient sentinels guarding long-forgotten secrets. In the depths of the forest, we stumbled upon an old clearing where a group of individuals clad in worn-out clothing engaged in a bizarre activity. A fire crackled in the center, casting eerie shadows on their faces as they conducted a ceremony that defied explanation. Symbols adorned the ground, and the air buzzed with an unsettling energy. Captivated by a morbid curiosity, we observed from the shadows until a twig snapped beneath my foot. The hooded figures turned, their eyes gleaming in the darkness. Panic seized us, and we fled back towards the cabin, the ominous sounds of pursuit following us like a spectral symphony. Within the safety of the cabin, we barred the door, our hearts pounding in sync with the haunting noises outside. The night wore on, each minute dragging us deeper into a realm of uncertainty. The creaking of the cabin and the distorted whispers of the wind merged into an otherworldly chorus, amplifying the dread that hung in the air. As dawn broke, we cautiously stepped into the morning light. The forest, now bathed in the soft hues of sunrise, revealed no trace of the hooded figures or their enigmatic ritual. The clearing where the ceremony took place seemed like an ordinary part of the wilderness, devoid of the eerie energy that had gripped it the night before. Our descent from the mountains was accompanied by a lingering sense of disquiet. The mysteries of that haunted night clung to our memories, a chilling reminder that even in the seemingly untouched beauty of nature, darkness could find a way to manifest. Fifth Story, by Benjamin O'Connor. Deep within the Black Forest of Germany, I embarked on a solo backpacking journey that would forever alter my perception of the natural world. The dense canopy of ancient oaks and firs enveloped me as I navigated through the labyrinthine trails, eventually stumbling upon a weathered cabin, its existence concealed by the thick foliage. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the forest transformed into a realm of shadows and whispered secrets. The night air vibrated with the hum of nocturnal creatures, yet beneath the surface, a disconcerting tension lingered. A strange unease settled over me as I entered the cabin, its interior illuminated only by the feeble glow of my flashlight. In the silence of the night, peculiar noises emanated from the woods, footsteps that seemed to echo my own, distant laughter that chilled my spine, and the occasional snapping of twigs under an unseen presence. Rationalizing these sounds as the tricks of an overactive imagination, I convinced myself to sleep within the cabin's confines. Awakening to an otherworldly glow outside, curiosity triumphed over caution. Venturing into the forest, I discovered a surreal scene. A group of figures cloaked in tattered garments gathered around an ancient tree. Candles flickered, casting dancing shadows on the participants as they engaged in a ceremony that seemed to defy the laws of nature. Spellbound, I watched from the shadows until a twig betrayed my presence. The figures turned, their eyes gleaming with an unnerving intensity. Panic surged through me, and I sprinted back towards the cabin, the haunting echoes of pursuit amplifying the pounding of my heart. Within the cabin, I strained to discern the source of the eerie sounds that now surrounded me. The walls seemed to absorb the whispers of the night, magnifying their ominous resonance. Sleep became an elusive luxury as the cabin itself seemed to breathe with a life of its own. With the first light of dawn, I cautiously stepped into the forest, half expecting the hooded figures to emerge from the shadows. Yet the Black Forest stood silent, its secrets buried within the gnarled roots of ancient trees. The clearing where the ceremony unfolded appeared as any other patch of wilderness, devoid of the supernatural energy that had gripped it just hours before. As I descended from the Black Forest, a lingering sense of trepidation clung to me. The boundary between the natural and the uncanny had blurred, leaving me with an indelible mark of fear. The haunting whispers and mysterious figures became a testament to the enigmatic nature of the wild, concealing horrors that could only be glimpsed when the veil between reality and the unknown grew thin. Sixth Story, by Olivia Campbell. Nestled in the heart of the Adirondack Mountains, my group of friends and I embarked on a backpacking expedition that would unravel the threads of our sanity. The towering pines whispered tales of forgotten legends as we traversed the winding trails, eventually discovering an abandoned cabin that seemed to defy the passage of time. As night fell, the woods transformed into an eerie symphony of nocturnal sounds. The moon cast elongated shadows, creating an atmosphere laden with anticipation. A subtle unease settled over us as we entered the cabin, its dilapidated interior telling tales of past inhabitants long gone. The night unfolded with the forest coming alive in unsettling ways. Rustlings in the underbrush hinted at unseen presences, and the distant echoes of laughter drifted through the trees. It was as if the very fabric of the wilderness was conspiring to unsettle our nerves, to draw us into a realm of the unknown. Intrigued and unnerved, we ventured into the night, guided by the pale glow of the moon. The forest seemed to pulsate with an otherworldly energy, each step amplifying the feeling that we were trespassing into a realm beyond our understanding. It was then that we stumbled upon a clearing, bathed in an unnatural light. A group of hooded figures stood in a circle, their faces hidden beneath shadows, engaged in a ritualistic dance. Symbols adorned the ground, glowing with an ethereal intensity. The air hummed with an unseen force, and the rhythmic chanting of the figures echoed through the clearing. We watched in horrified fascination, unaware that the forest itself was observing our intrusion. The figures, seemingly aware of our presence, turned towards us with eyes that seemed to pierce the darkness. Panic seized us, and we fled back towards the cabin, the haunting sounds of pursuit reverberating through the night. The forest seemed to close in around us, the trees contorting into grotesque shapes, and the very ground beneath us felt alive with an unnatural energy. Within the shaky refuge of the cabin, we strained to comprehend the events that had unfolded. Shadows danced across the walls, and the haunting echoes of the forest seeped through the decaying structure. Sleep eluded us as the very air within the cabin vibrated with an otherworldly presence. With the first light of dawn, we cautiously emerged from the cabin, half expecting the hooded figures to materialize in the daylight. Yet the forest lay silent, the clearing devoid of any traces of the ritualistic ceremony. It was as if the night's events had been erased by the dawn, leaving us with a surreal sense of disorientation. As we descended from the Adirondacks, the memories of that fateful night clung to us like a persistent nightmare. The boundary between reality and the supernatural had blurred, leaving an indelible mark on our perception of the wilderness. The once inviting trails now seemed fraught with hidden perils, a reminder that some secrets are best left undisturbed in the heart of the untamed wild. 7th Story, Anonymous. In the remote wilderness of Tasmania, I embarked on a solo hiking expedition that would plunge me into the depths of an inexplicable horror. The dense eucalyptus forests enveloped me in a cocoon of greenery as I navigated the rugged terrain, stumbling upon a rustic cabin hidden away from the prying eyes of civilization. As night descended, the Tasmanian wilderness came alive with the cacophony of nocturnal creatures. The air, thick with the scent of eucalyptus, carried an undercurrent of unease. A disconcerting feeling settled over me as I entered the cabin, its timber walls seeming to whisper secrets of the wild. Under the cover of darkness, the forest played tricks on my senses. Strange noises echoed through the trees, a distant thud, the hushed murmur of voices, and an occasional rustling that seemed to defy the natural order. I dismissed these sounds as the product of an overactive imagination, determined to enjoy the solitude of the Tasmanian wild. Curiosity, however, led me deeper into the forest at night. Guided by the faint light of the Southern Cross, I stumbled upon a glade bathed in an ethereal glow. A group of figures, their faces hidden by the shadows of hooded cloaks, encircled an ancient tree. Candles flickered, casting distorted shadows on their faces as they engaged in a ritualistic dance. As I observed from the concealment of the trees, a twig snapped beneath my foot. The figures turned, their eyes gleaming with an otherworldly luminescence. Panic gripped me, and I sprinted back towards the cabin, the haunting sounds of pursuit reverberating through the Tasmanian night. Within the cabin, I barricaded myself against the unseen threat that seemed to seep through the very pores of the wilderness. The night wore on, each minute stretching into an eternity of uncertainty. The cabin creaked and groaned, its timbers seemingly alive with the spirit of the forest. With the first light of dawn, I cautiously stepped outside, half expecting the hooded figures to linger in the shadows. Yet, the Tasmanian wilderness lay silent, the glade a tranquil clearing untouched by the previous night's horrors. The eucalyptus trees swayed gently in the morning breeze, their leaves whispering secrets that only the wild could comprehend. As I descended from the Tasmanian wilderness, the memories of that enigmatic night clung to me like the scent of eucalyptus. The boundary between reality and the supernatural had blurred, leaving me with a profound sense of awe and dread. The untamed beauty of Tasmania had revealed its hidden layers, concealing mysteries that transcended the grasp of human understanding. 8th Story by Samuel Enders. Deep within the Appalachian Trail, my companions and I embarked on a hiking expedition that would forever etch a tale of dread into our collective memory. The dense forest canopy above cast dappled shadows on the trail, and the crisp autumn air carried the scent of decaying leaves as we stumbled upon an old cabin, seemingly abandoned by both man and time. As night draped its inky cloak over the wilderness, the atmosphere around the cabin shifted. A subtle unease settled over our group, accentuated by the rustling leaves and the distant sounds of nocturnal creatures. The cabin itself seemed to exhale a disconcerting breath, its sagging timbers groaning as if sharing untold secrets of the woods. In the flickering light of our flashlights, we explored the cabin's interior, its wooden floors whispering with each step. Strange symbols etched into the walls hinted at a history tinged with the arcane. The air within the cabin felt heavy, as if we had unwittingly stepped into a realm where the natural laws we knew ceased to apply. Venturing into the night, we followed an overgrown path that seemed to beckon us deeper into the forest. The moonlight filtered through the thick canopy, casting an ethereal glow on the trail. The crunch of leaves beneath our boots echoed in the stillness, accompanied by an occasional crackling as if the forest itself held its breath. It was then that we stumbled upon a clearing, bathed in an otherworldly luminescence. Hooded figures, their faces concealed in the shadows, surrounded a gnarled tree adorned with intricate carvings. The air hummed with an ancient energy, and the rhythmic chants of the figures sent tremors through the clearing. Compelled by a morbid fascination, we observed from the concealment of the trees until a twig snapped beneath a careless foot. The figures turned, their eyes gleaming with an unsettling intensity. Panic seized us, and we sprinted back towards the cabin, the haunting sounds of pursuit echoing through the Appalachian night. Within the shaky refuge of the cabin, we huddled together, the walls seemingly amplifying the eerie sounds outside. The night wore on, each creak and groan of the cabin heightening the sense that we were not alone, that the very fabric of the forest conspired to unravel our sanity. As dawn painted the sky in hues of pink and gold, we cautiously emerged from the cabin. The clearing, now bathed in the morning light, revealed no trace of the hooded figures or their arcane ritual. The Appalachian woods stood silent, their secrets buried beneath layers of fallen leaves and forgotten tales. Descending from the trail, the memories of that haunted night clung to us like the scent of damp earth. The natural world, once a sanctuary of beauty and solitude, had revealed a darker side, a realm where shadows danced with ancient whispers, and the line between reality and nightmare blurred in the heart of the Appalachian wilderness. Ninth Story, by Isabella Moreno. In the sprawling wilderness of British Columbia, a solo hiking expedition led me to the fringes of a forest that harbored secrets darker than the ancient firs that guarded its perimeter. The air carried the scent of pine, and the rustle of leaves hinted at unseen inhabitants as I stumbled upon a secluded cabin, its weathered facade blending seamlessly with the natural surroundings. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the woods came alive with the symphony of the wild. The cabin's door groaned open reluctantly, revealing an interior that seemed to absorb the ambient sounds of the forest. Shadows danced on the walls, and the creaking of the floorboards resonated with an eerie cadence, as if the cabin itself held a story untold. Night descended, and with it, a palpable tension settled over the forest. The wind whispered through the branches, carrying with it the distant howls of unseen creatures. Strange noises echoed through the woods, a series of knocks, as if signaling an unseen presence, and the hushed murmurs that danced on the edge of perception. Curiosity beckoned me into the night, and I followed a winding path that led me deeper into the forest. The moon cast silvery beams through the thick canopy, creating an otherworldly glow that revealed a clearing ahead. A group of hooded figures, their faces obscured by the shadows, stood in a circle around a peculiar arrangement of stones. Intrigued, I watched as the figures performed a ritualistic dance, their movements synchronized with an ancient rhythm. Symbols adorned the ground, glowing softly in the moonlight, and the air hummed with an unsettling energy. I became an unintended witness to a ceremony that seemed to blur the lines between the natural and the supernatural. A twig snapped beneath my boot, betraying my presence. The figures ceased their dance, turning towards me with eyes that gleamed in the darkness. Panic surged through me, and I sprinted back towards the cabin, the haunting sounds of pursuit echoing through the British Columbia night. Within the cabin's shelter, I strained to discern the source of the eerie noises that now surrounded me. The very walls seemed to vibrate with an unseen force, and the dissonant symphony of the forest outside penetrated the cabin's fragile barrier. Sleep became an elusive pursuit as the night unfolded in a surreal dance of shadows and whispers. With the first light of dawn, I cautiously stepped outside. The forest, now bathed in the soft hues of morning, revealed no trace of the hooded figures or their enigmatic ceremony. The clearing appeared as any other patch of wilderness, its secrets hidden beneath layers of fallen pine needles. As I descended from the British Columbian wilderness, the echoes of that haunting night lingered. The boundary between the mundane and the mystical had blurred, leaving me with a profound sense of awe and trepidation. The wild, once a sanctuary of solitude, had revealed a side steeped in ancient rituals and enigmatic mysteries that transcended the comprehension of a lone wanderer. 10th Story, by Alexander Mitchell. In the heart of the Scottish Highlands, a land of rugged peaks and mist-laden glens, I embarked on a solo trek that would plunge me into the depths of an enigma shrouded in the lore of ancient clans. The air was thick with the scent of heather, and the haunting calls of distant birds set the stage for a journey that would unravel the tapestry of the Highlands' untold secrets. My footsteps echoed through the desolate landscape as I stumbled upon a weathered cabin nestled in a valley, surrounded by looming peaks and whispering pines. The cabin, a relic from a bygone era, bore witness to centuries of Highland tales, its time-worn stones and thatched roofs standing as silent sentinels to the mysteries that lay within. As night draped its veil over the Highland moors, the air grew heavy with an ancient energy. The distant cries of the resident wildlife seemed to morph into haunting melodies, and the cabin itself seemed to exhale a disconcerting breath, as if the very stones retained the memories of a past long forgotten. Unable to resist the allure of the Highland night, I stepped outside, guided only by the silver glow of the moon. The landscape, bathed in an ethereal light, revealed a narrow trail that wound its way through the glen. A sense of anticipation gripped me as I followed the path, the silence broken only by the crunch of moss underfoot. The trail led me to a hidden clearing, where an assembly of figures, their silhouettes defined by the moon, engaged in a dance that mirrored the undulating contours of the highland landscape. Candles flickered on ancient stones arranged in a circle, and the air resonated with the rhythmic cadence of their movements. Symbols etched into the ground pulsed with a primal energy. Entranced, I observed the ceremony from the shadows until a rustle behind me shattered the silence. A lone figure, draped in a cloak woven from the colors of the moor, emerged from the darkness. The eyes that met mine held the wisdom of ages, and a subtle understanding passed between us, a recognition that I had trespassed into a realm where the veil between the living and the spectral was thin. As the figures halted their dance, their collective gaze turned toward me. Panic seized my heart, and I fled back towards the cabin, the highland night echoing with the haunting sounds of pursuit. The glen itself seemed to conspire against me, the very wind carrying whispers of an ancient power offended by my intrusion. Within the refuge of the cabin, the walls seemed to reverberate with the echoes of highland secrets. Sleep became an elusive companion as the night unfolded in a symphony of creaking timbers and distant murmurs that seemed to emanate from the very stones that held the cabin upright. With the first light of dawn, I cautiously emerged from the shelter, half expecting the highland figures to linger in the early morning mist. Yet the glen lay silent, its secrets veiled by the dissipating fog. The clearing, now bathed in the soft glow of dawn, betrayed no trace of the enigmatic ceremony that had unfolded in the Highland night. As I descended from the Scottish Highlands, the memories of that spectral encounter clung to me like the mist that clung to the peaks. The boundary between the natural and the supernatural had blurred, leaving me with an indelible mark of awe and trepidation. The Highland moors, with their ancient tales and mystical rites, had woven me into their narrative, revealing that some mysteries are best left untouched in the heart of the untamed wilderness. Thank you for joining us for the whole video. That video you see on screen is one of my favorite. Check it out. If you've enjoyed these horror stories, show your support by hitting the subscribe button. Did this tale send chills down your spine? Let me know in the comments.